The US election of 2024 is less than 5 weeks away, and as people in the US choose between Kamala and Trump, a much more serious issue is emerging there that cannot be resolved. Regardless of the winner, the US dollar's destiny is shifting. The US government's use of the dollar as a political weapon through sanctions and other measures has eroded international trust in the currency. This loss of confidence is driving countries to seek alternatives to the dollar, potentially leading to its eventual replacement as the primary global currency. Renowned American economist Art Laffer, who previously served as a White House economic advisor, warned his fellow Americans that the US dollar is becoming an unhinged paper currency. His argument is one that is hard to refute. The US dollar's future is even more concerning because neither Trump nor Kamala have a plan to address it. Instead, this is a debt issue rather than a policy issue. While the media is exclusively focused on the US election over the next few weeks, another event is happening on the other side of the globe that will determine the precise future of the US dollar. The United States is the most indebted country in the world, and their only option is to simply print more money, which further devalues the currency and pushes the rest of the world closer to dollarization. The timing of the BRICS alliance's annual President Summit, which will take place in Russia next month, couldn't be more symbolic as it will take place 2 weeks before the US presidential election. Last year, when the BRICS alliance presidents met, they formally announced the alliance's expansion to include several new powerful nations, including Saudi Arabia. We'll see exactly how many countries are accepted into the organization in 2025, but one thing is for certain. Interest in and demand for BRICS and their plans for dollarization are skyrocketing. It was reported this week that this meeting will introduce a multi-currency payment platform along with a roadmap for a Goldie BRICS trading currency. Egypt and the UAE expansion is once again another focus point. 24 new countries have officially applied to join the BRICS alliance before this year's annual summit. This roadmap is crucial because, although it may still be a few years off, the BRICS alliance has stated its intentions to establish an inclusive international financial system that is devoid of sanctions and other limitations and will remain open to all participating countries. The BRICS alliance has been making indications for some time now about launching its own gold-backed currency. China is the nation that has advanced the most in utilizing the UN currency for transnational commerce. The trend of non-traditional currencies being used as a global currency reserve is depicted in this Brookings Institute chart. It started to rise sharply in 2010. Fast forward to the present, when the share of Chinese currency in international payments reached a record high this summer. The Chinese currency is now the third most popular currency for commercial financing and the fifth most popular currency for trading and reserves payments worldwide. China and the US enjoyed a fruitful relationship at the time. Tensions were relatively low, and China had no issues using US dollars in trade. However, in 2016, Donald Trump launched the trade war by imposing tariffs on Chinese goods, and for the next 4 years, the Biden administration has done everything in its power to cut off China from US technology and limit China's growth. As a result, China has strategically shifted away from the US dollar. This chart shows just how much China's economy has shifted away from the US dollar. Dependence, and when China needs to pivot, they can do so more quickly than any other nation on Earth. Take another look at that chart to see how quickly China has moved away from the US dollar. Currently, 53% of border payments and receipts are made in Chinese local currency, and this percentage is rising every month. Among my favorites, American author Richard Turin is the author of Financial Insiders, a book about China's digital revolution that is titled Cashless According to China's Digital Currency Revolution. Richard, there are 3 reasons why a perfect storm is developing that will lead to the collapse of the US dollar. The world has never had the technology to create a payment system that is independent of traditional US dollar banking, but thanks to digital currencies, stable coins, commodity-backed tokens, and the rise of cryptocurrency, the technology is already here. If you pay attention to what's happening in global markets, there have been significant warning signs even in traditional Western media. Sanctions, debt, and technology have been issues for decades. Since oil has been traded exclusively in US dollars for many decades, publications like this Wall Street Journal article that warns the dominant dollar faces a backlash in the oil market at the end of last year. JP Morgan's announcement that 20% of global oil sales were bought and sold in currencies other than the US dollar should absolutely raise red flags for all Americans. One of the main reasons the US dollar has been strong for so many years is the US's close relationship with Saudi Arabia. However, even the Saudis have shown that not everything good lasts forever. Earlier this month, reports surfaced that they are now open to the US and want closer ties with China going forward. Meanwhile, the US has developed a close relationship with the Saudi government by providing them with US military protection for the past 50 years. China, however, brings a whole new dimension to the negotiation table. The most cutting-edge goods and industries in China are of interest to the Saudis. China is the global leader in electric vehicles, has established itself as a major force in renewable energy, and has even introduced the country's first passenger plane, the C-919, which the Saudi government intends to acquire in order to diversify the Saudi economy. In an effort to boost non-dollar trade, China and Saudi Arabia struck a 3-year currency exchange arrangement last year for 50 billion yuan, or slightly more than $7 billion US. However, the Saudis aren't the only ones making significant strides on the global scene. In preparation for the annual BRICS meeting next month, I created a full movie on Turkey's decision to formally seek for membership in BRICS earlier this summer. Based on this article, I believe this is one of the most essential narratives to follow. Turkey's building blocks. Given that Turkish President Erdogan will be present at the BRICS summit in Russia next month, Gambit is exactly what Russia ordered. Remember that Turkey is the gateway between Asia and Europe and a full member of NATO. Turkey initially expressed interest in joining the EU and began the application process in 2005. However, nearly 20 years later, Turkey is still not a member of the EU, which has forced them to look for other options like aligning with China and Russia and joining the BRICS organization. Donald Trump has promised his fellow Americans that he will maintain the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, but politicians are accustomed to making empty promises. I want to bring this all full circle and share more insights from economist A.R. Leder, who reveals how the collapse of the US dollar is directly affecting Americans living in the United States today. Nothing can bring an economy to its knees more quickly than unstable paper currencies, which in turn cause high interest rates, high inflation, and a significant expansion of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. We are heading towards an insane paper currency, record high interest rates, inflation, and a massive increase in the size of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. We are moving away from monetary stability. This is exactly what has been going on with the American economy over the last 4 years, making life more difficult and harder for the average American. We also see a clear correlation between the decline in the value of the dollar and the rise of alternative currencies. As I have been reporting for several months, gold is continuing to reach record highs while other alternative currencies, such as Bitcoin, are gaining traction. As you can see, everyone in the globe is changing and proceeding. Dollarization is something that you will hear as a key strategy for many developing nations as they seek to diversify away from the US dollar and, more importantly, the US government. But now that brings us to the investing portion of today's video, and I want to highlight a company that I profiled several times before but is once again crushing results and plays right into the story of dollarization. It trades under the symbol DEF, and it's been one of the best performing stocks this year, up over 310% year to date. Jerome Powell and the Fed just cut interest rates for the first time in 4 years, stating, "We concluded that this was the right thing for the economy and the people we serve, and as a result there are going to be some unique opportunities in the market." And let me break down why I believe DeFi Technologies is one of them. Like I mentioned, the company has been performing very well all year long, and recently DeFi announced that they filed for uplisting to the Nasdaq if approved. So many new funds and institutions could buy the stock. The crypto market is also heating up, and DeFi Tech gives investors a chance to gain exposure to the crypto market through a company that is already profitable and experiencing record revenues. Let me help explain what the company does to generate so much revenue and drive such impressive net income. DiTech achieved its strongest financial quarter to date, and during its second quarter in 2024 experienced record revenues of $98 million and $94.4 million for the 3 and 6 months ending June 30, 2024, along with a net income of $66.5 million and $53.2 million for the same periods. You've probably heard of ETFs. Well, ETPS is the European version. The key to this business's success is that DeFi infrastructure provides the true boost to revenues and extraordinary profitability, as the company makes 8 to 10% on assets under management through a combination of management fees, loan, and staking. In addition, the company owns Anthony Pompano-founded Reflexivity Research, a successful consulting firm. Pompano is a shareholder in DeFi Technologies and one of the most reliable insiders in the crypto industry. Pompano recently announced that his company, Reflexivity Research, will be hosting a Crypto Investor Day on Friday, October 25th. The event will bring together over 1,000 industry leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs to the New York City location next month. As I mentioned earlier, PP is one of the most respected voices in the crypto space. Here is what PP recently said about DeFi Tech. "My best guess is that this stock is currently extremely cheap, and considering the industry it works in and the products it sells, there should be strong tailwinds for the remainder of this year to give you an idea of how much management believes in this business. Considering that senior management and the insiders own 45% of DeFi Technologies, you can see how driven you must be to get out of bed in the morning. After all, you own 45% of a $600 million company that you feel is worth much more. What I'm trying to say is that, similar to many other founder-led companies, Warren Buffett, who is 94 years old and owns 33% of Berkshire Hathaway, works there every morning. CrowdStrike by Tesla, the founders of both Nvidia, Meta and Amazon DeFi Technologies, are in charge of the company. Lastly, Olivier, the CEO, purchased 900,000 shares on the open market, bringing his total shareholding with close associates to 17.9 million. This is an increase of over $40 million. The management team believes the company is undervalued and has announced a massive buyback program, but they have only scratched the surface. Many astute individuals are betting on a future in which there will be more